History of the Balkans is complicated, but I come myself, not that it matters too much here, but from Central Eastern Europe, the Polish, in our region, it's a pretty complicated history too. But if there is one, not just lesson, because it's not about somebody giving lessons, it's about one's own experience. Surely people must have learned by now. Conflicts, put it bluntly, fighting each other, killing people and God knows what. That has to be the past. This is not the way forward. It doesn't resolve any issues it set countries back so many years. So the integration means that you want to be part of the mainstream. You want to have an interest. How do you do that? Well, by abiding by certain standards. And whether it's NATO, whether it's EU, the standards, irrespective when the country joined, they're good for the countries. The rule of law, fighting corruption, strengthening the institutions, resilience. Surely this is a positive thing. And all this, is it linked to the economic, for instance, prospects? Of course it is, because security, stability, and prosperity go together. So I'm not saying all of this is kind of simple, it's not about just ticking some boxes, but it makes, I think, a logical, whole. But we do need good stories from the region, and how the stories will come about if the people are convinced that, again, cooperation, good neighborly relations, working on some joint projects. I don't know, in a military defense, maybe sending some units together. We're going to have, for instance, this year a civil emergency exercise in Serbia with very good participation. Now, these are the real issues. If there is a fire tomorrow, God forbid, right? It's such a beautiful place in Budva, but if there is a fire, we've trained together, and units from this country and that country will come and help each other. This is concrete. I think the regional integration, that's a very that's a very ambitious goal. The paradox is to some extent that we know what European integration is about. It's primarily about we know what Euro-Atlantic integration is about. That's primarily about NATO. So integration, if you're talking about one structure, maybe that's complicated, but you can look at it in terms of synergy. If there are good projects, and again, I deal with security issues because NATO is primarily about security, but security has it's a broad definition. If you have good projects, when people come together because they want to develop, good road system, train system, they want to be attractive. And again, let's face it, if you're looking for some big investments outside, proper investments. I don't mean just people coming and buying, nice real estate. That's a different story. Then it's much more attractive to look at the region because each part of the bigger picture is relatively small. But if you put it all together, it's much more attractive. And politics, let's not forget, political cooperation means dialogue. It means respect each other regardless of what happened. This is difficult. But again, if I may be, as bold to say from experience of my own country, it's always easier to talk about the great, battles that you won in history. But in a small place, everybody had battles and so on. Let's talk about the things which unite us and try to evolve. So history will remain, some scars, memories. Nobody's asking for, eradicating the memory. No. But if you can rise above that and look at a positive picture, it's win-win for everybody. And nobody loses in terms of, some kind of prestige, on the contrary. So I think the region has made big progress, but it will not stop tomorrow, and, it has to continue. Because that's really the song of the future. And people have to realize that, sometimes that means there are no shortcuts, and you have to be patient. But it is the only path.